Yeah, you better have that recorded. Oh, you out here messing with the filter?
I see you on here. Let's see. I think we are live. We live on YouTube? Holla if you hear me.
I think we should be, King.
Let's see. Let's see. Making sure everything is copacetic.
You out here messing with the filter?
Let's see here. Make sure I mute that.
Mhm.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Talking about the filter. Nah, that's not what I was trying to do at all, brother. That is not what I was trying to do at all. But Malik, my brother, welcome, man. Thank you so much for joining us. It's your boy David, one of the founders of the Black Wealth Renaissance, man. Here live with my brother from none other than Mr. Malik Champlain. How you doing, King?
Man, I'm good. I'm good, man. You know, it's always time to leverage with Malik, and but speaking to you, King, it's always a beautiful time, dog.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I always appreciate the energy, bro. I know you just mentioned that you just came back from speaking today, man. You've been doing it, killing it with a 3-day conference. You guys been really in here with men building, bro. And that's something that I know that's what we connected on originally, like with the Black Men Summit. So I appreciate you, man. I know you spent all day pouring in and you came back to post some more, man. You just the cup overflowed, so we gotta give. You feel me?
Yo, that is a line for you, and I think it's important, right? Because it's not me, man. It's like just allowing the spirit to move.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother. And that's what I love about it, man. It's not just always about the strategy and the business and a lot of the times we get caught up on some of those things. It's about living a holistic life, man. And with the conference that you was doing today, y'all was speaking on manhood. And before we get into even like this whole topic today, I kind of want to have a conversation about manhood because masculinity is in a awkward place in America. Would you agree with
Yeah,
me?
I would.
Like it's in an awkward place. It's almost like certain things that are deemed masculine are under attack, or like men are labeled toxic for certain things, and it gets to a point where it's like, okay, we can't say certain things. People are scared of cancel culture. They're scared of all these things. It's like, what is manhood in this time, and what does it mean to you?
Man, I think that's dope because I like talking about manhood because there's different hoods that like a man takes on, right? Like there's different hats, but I would say there's different hoods, right? Because you
Yeah,
talk about manhood, but like you got fatherhood, you got brotherhood, like we got, right? Like there's the neighborhood, right? Like there's so many things that we take on. But I would say manhood nowadays, man, I think you gotta look at me, man. Like I'm always gonna be somebody who's gonna look at the glass half full. So I'm really on the fact that like I think we're in a pivotal moment, right? I think things that are difficult usually means that there's a change coming, but we got to make sure that we're helping move the change, right, and not just sitting back complaining and being passive. I'm very big on like, right, like if I'm being passive about it, then like I shouldn't care where it's going because I don't care enough to do something.
mm,
Right. So for me, what I do is I'm so pro the things that I think are important. So when you talked about toxic masculinity, I think I don't go with that term. I just go with that a lot of times we might have, some brothers out here who have incomplete masculinity.
mm,
Right. And I think that I mean important because we're really tapping in and getting a lot of brothers and really looking at like how comprehensive manhood is, right? And this idea that as a man, and I think about it like this, like as a man, when I think about like to my family, right, to my community, like what is a man? And it's like I'm anything, um, I'm anything and everything that I have to be at any time in order to do what I need to do, right? In order to provide and fill that need, right? Like that's what a man is. So if it's something where I'm limiting myself, and we've had that before, right? Like, and I get it, and it's not a shot. It's just that right? Like as men, we have to grow and adapt and deepen. And we have an opportunity to do that. We have a luxury to do that, right? Like, so when we talk about like men being able um to be a man, but also like deepen the idea of what masculinity is, I really think that like we had fathers and grandfathers that a lot of them didn't have that luxury, right? Because they had to work those 12, 14-hour shifts with some manual labor jobs, or right, like they had to be out the house a lot.
It was a different time.
So it wasn't necessarily a fact of like I'm not going to. It's a fact that like based on the way society is, that's not my role to, right? But at the same time, when we go back to even when we were like more in agriculture, if I was out plowing the field, if I was out, you know, taking care of right the cattle and the sheep and the domestic animals, my children were with me, right? So the other thing is like being able to understand that like when I gotta be the preacher, I'm the preacher. When I'm the teacher, I'm the teacher. If I gotta cook, if I gotta clean, if I gotta right play doctor, like a man is all of it, right? And I think this idea that we have to always boo-hoo on the men that came before us. I just think that we have to add on, and we have the luxury.
Mm. Building that legacy. And whenever you're talking about like with that change, right? I think about this like a lot of times it's with society change. I know you're talking about how the economy's changed over, how that has affected that sense of it, right? Where like, because I know one of the things is always you as a man, you protect, you provide, you have responsibility, you're here for the family. Or now in like a time where I guess protection isn't as needed because we're not protecting from the wilderness, and these things like shelter and food and making money, the ability to make a livelihood is not dependent upon those, I guess, primitive or earlier things, right? So in today's day and age, like it being everything, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think I'll just think about three of the things that you said about protection, shelter, and food, right? I think the idea is that just to understand that our goal isn't just to transcend, but sometimes transform, right? The things that we're doing. So like when I think about like as a man and as a father and me being in my family, right? My job of protection isn't just the fact of physical protection, right? My job of protection is making sure that like, right, there's certain things that my children have access to and don't have access to.
Mm,
My job of protection is making sure, that the way that I'm protecting and providing for my wife, right? In the way in which I secure my home, in the way in which that the principles and things that I lead with, right? Like those things have not changed. I think the part of talking about shelter, right? And the idea of like, can my wife take shelter in me to confide in me, right? Can my children take shelter within the structure, right, of the home and the leadership that I provide there? And I think that that's so important in the food, right? Like, you know, like what words am I feeding my children, right? What words am I
mm,
giving my family? How am I
that's good.
spiritually feeding them? How am I mentally feeding them? How am I, right? Like, how am I actually, right? Right, like this idea, like, right, for me, when I think about it, right, it's just as a man, I gotta make sure that I always have I gotta have the answer. And that means sometimes, right, you gotta sit there and figure out, right, like there was a Windows 98 version of being a man that sometimes we're given, but we on Windows 11 now, fam.
Shit, it might be Windows 13, 14. It's 2023.
You feel me? So we got to keep updating, and that's all I'm saying. But the idea is the work don't stop though, right? When I think about when I think about the messaging that my daughters get about their skin and their hair, right? And then and I write a poem to them, right? And I talk to them with affirmations and tell them
Mm,
who they are, where they come from, and that their hair and their skin is more than enough as is, right? This idea that, right, your hair defies gravity and it grows towards the stars. right? Your skin, the perfect combination of melanin. It absorbs the energy of the sun. Young queen, you were designed by the creator. You are one of one.
That's protection.
That's protection, right? That's substance. That's food.
Knowledge of self.
Knowledge of self, right? Understanding that someone bigger than us, right? That we're living for something bigger than ourselves, right? Teaching my son how to be a man, right? Don't shake a man's hand when you're sitting down, right? Keep a close circle, right? Say what you mean what you say. Stand on that too, right? Make sure you got a backbone where your wishbone is, right? Those things don't change.
Never let a wishbone grow where a backbone should.
You feel me?
Can't, that's major, man. No, like that, exactly like you're saying. It's about taking it and evolving it. Like taking it and integrating, like in this world that we in now, integrating different aspects of protection, like you're saying. You don't have to fend off from animals or wild animals outside, but there are different things in the world that you can protect your family with by raising them up the right way. Like you just mentioned with your daughters, teaching them self-love, or with your son, teaching them how to operate as a stand-up individual, especially like not just in life, but whenever it comes to some of the things which you just said, like in business, you make a different impression upon people whenever you move correctly, like just little stuff like that is like, it's a sign of respect, also just a sign of like, I'm a person who is about what I say I'm about.
And it's important that men, that fathers, right, that we're able to control our own narrative, to speak our own truth. Because so many times when you say stuff like toxic masculinity, right, that's not coming from a man half the time, right?
Facts.
And then the other fact is, right, the man is usually coming from is somebody who's trying to hook up with a lady.
Trying to be in this feminist bag to try to get,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it, right? And my thing about it is,
That's a
right,
weak play.
it is, right? It is one, but it's because, right, like there's stages we have to go through, right? You're born a boy, but then you gotta become a man. See, men have to become. That's the hard part. And I get it, right? But right, that just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not important. Doesn't mean there's not value in it. And there is, right? There is that idea. Like I can tell you, I was 24 years old when I knew I became a man. Right? And I knew it, right? And I didn't see the world the same. I didn't stop blaming, I started taking responsibility, which then meant I was more accountable for myself. And
That's
then
major.
quickly I learned I had to be accountable for my wife and my children, right? Which grew me deeper into being a man. And then I became a mentor, right? And a mentor, right? And men have a problem with that word nurture, but a mentor is nothing but a teacher and a nurturer put together. And then you have to become the patriarch.
A mentor is nothing but a teacher and a nurturer put together. I ain't never thought of it like that.
If I say, yo, you gonna be yeah, I'm down to mentor. But like as a man, how do you nurture your family? Right? Or how do you provide discipline? Okay, I'll tell you. Well, discipline means disciple, which means to teach. So how are you teaching? Right? Because I don't punish my kids. I teach them. Wow, we need to hit these kids. Well, just give me a good lesson they're gonna learn from that whooping. That outweighs.
So you don't believe in that aspect of it? You don't believe in the spare the rod, what was it? Forsake the child?
I didn't say nothing. I just said give me a good reason. Right? Because most times when you hit a child is when you're in a bit of anger that you can't control yourself. It's more about you than them.
It wasn't adequately explained to them as to the reason why, right? I follow what you're saying. Like if you're frustrated with the child and then you discipline that child, but you don't actually tell them the reason why the discipline occurred, now it leads to so many other emotions down the way. Because like I just got beat and I don't even understand.
Yeah, but it goes back to this, right? I mean, listen, I'm ready to get my butt whipped back in the day, and then 10 minutes later, my mom talking about, you all right? You want to go get some McDonald's?
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because she knew she shouldn't have hit me. She let her emotion get the most of her. So if there's a trait that a man needs to have, it's emotional intelligence. The ability to respond, not react. So once again, when I ask the same question, I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm saying, okay, what are you teaching them, right? What's the outcome going to be, and what they're learning from this that's going to outweigh the trauma? You see, when we lived in a place, right, in the 60s or before that, right, where if you looked the wrong way, if you whistled the wrong way, if you were in the wrong area where you weren't supposed to be, that would be your life. So guess what? I'll beat you before I allow them to. But when you don't live in that, then what you're doing is one of the most dangerous things that ever is because it's always been done this way.
Following tradition blindly.
That's it. So I think I'm just saying, you tell me, right? One, if you are, then you better not do it angry. If you need a couple minutes, you need some time, okay, come back. Because remember, you're doing this because it's a response. You want to teach them something. But what happens is that you're going to come back and not want to do it because you're going to think of a better option.
So it's not spare the rod, forsake the child. It's spare the rod, think about it before hitting this, and then get into it. Because if it just, again, I do appreciate this conversation, because I just think, again, we're in this awkward space. Manhood, fatherhood is like a very important topic at this time. Like, especially, I think it's pivotal for Black men. I'm not gonna get into everything. But I do think that there is an agenda at play when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lack of representation, certainly, of positive figures in our community. So we definitely want to make sure that we highlight that with Black Wealth Renaissance. But brother, I did also want to just get into it with you too, because we got some good stuff planned for the people tonight, man.
Yeah.
We were talking before we got on, and you were telling me, man, I was thinking about something. He's like, man, well, why don't we just talk about the 5 secrets that to applying for a business loan? And I'm like, shoot, we need to talk about that, because if it's something, because we are well aware, like, Black businesses struggle to get funding a lot of times.
Yep.
So there are certain things that obviously we're not privy to, a lot of business owners aren't privy to, that are stopping it from getting funded. So we got an insider here, founder of You Leverage Capital, our brother, Mr. Malik Champlain. He helps businesses get funded all the time. And he gonna help you get by telling you the 5 secrets to applying for a business loan. So if you tapping in right now, y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button, smash that like button. If you're ready to get this information, share this with somebody that you know is gonna need the information, and let us know where you checking in from in the chat. We about to get into it in just a minute here. Man, I'm looking forward to it. But y'all, smash that like button. Let us know where you coming in from. We about to get into it. 5 secrets to applying to a business loan. Let's get it.
Look, King, this is the reason why I brought it up. We fund people every day, every week, every month, right? So when we out here funding people, problems come up, and I'm trying to figure out how to help people solve it. And the only reason I'm saying it's a secret is because people are not doing it, right? So it must be a secret if it keeps coming up, right? And as a problem, so
you have insider knowledge because you seeing the transactions on a day to day.
We're seeing the transactions. Here's the other thing is that at the end of the month, every quarter, right, I meet up with we work with over 100 different lenders. So with those lenders every quarter, I go through, and I'm vetting the feedback I'm getting from clients. I'm vetting the information that's out there on the web, and then we're going through and vetting the products and things that they're giving our clients, because it's extremely important that if me and you are working together and we talk about something and I want you to get a line of credit, and you come back to me, and someone that we're working with, a lender we're working with, gives you some type of business revenue funding, which is fine, but it's not what we talked about, right? But they get, let's say we had a situation where they gave them a merchant cash advance. Now, right, if we game plan for that, that'll be different. but we didn't game plan for that. So when you come back to me and that's not it, then I got to go back to them, and that's a problem for me. So what I wanted to do was make sure that I want to help businesses be able to take control, right? Especially our businesses, Black-owned businesses,
Mm-hmm.
take control of that loan process. Because what I see is that we get a little shaky because there's a place where we start thinking that we're not supposed to be here, right? Like we got lucky to get funded, right? We don't work on luck, right? We're gonna make this a science. So what I'm gonna give you, right, is these 5 steps that I want you to write down and want you to take down. That's going to help you. So number 1, right? Not even number 1. Before we get to 1, number 0. If you just go to a bank, right? You're going to a bank right now, and you're just gonna. Most people fill out an application at the bank that they have with a personal account, and they ask for some business funding, and 90% of those are denied.
Why is that?
Come to me and they're denied. Why? Because they haven't set up their business the right way. Because they don't understand the science and steps they have to take. What they're doing is what I call a Hail Mary, right? They just blindly just say, you know what, I'll just try it.
They just throwing out a bunch of applications.
Just like I said before, they're reacting, not responding, right?
And
I'm big on this: measure twice, cut once. So I don't like the odds of 90% of my applications being denied. I like it when you have a 90% chance of it being approved. So this is how we're going to do that, right? We're going to go step 1. You have to create a plan, right? If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. And I'm not going to go through a long business plan with you and say you got to go through and tell me your mission statement and your vision. And that's not the plan that I want you to present to them. But what I do want you to do is to come, right? You're going to have your little folder or whatnot. And you're going to have your documents. You're going to have the things that you need. And you're going to be able to talk the language if you have to sit down with somebody to be able to say some of the things that you're trying to do within your industry. So here are some questions that I had, right? Like, what are some strengths of your business? What, like, personally, do you even know what your own personal credit is or business credit? Have you worked on that? Have you built that? I can't tell you how many people I meet with, right? And they tell me, I don't know, and I'm afraid to look.
For their personal credit?
For their personal.
Sheesh.
So this is, and I got, man, listen, it's so many times that you start thinking of stuff, you're like, when the last time you've been to the doctor? And I could tell you 9 out of 10 people, when I ask them that same question,
they gotta think on it.
It's been more than a year. Because if you don't want to, right, like, think about it. If you don't want to know what your personal credit score is, you probably don't want to know what that blood work's at.
Just avoid it.
Yeah, I had a young man on Saturday. I met with him. We were working together, and he did avoiding his personal credit, and then he hadn't been a doctor in 3 years.
That's wild.
After the doctor told him something was up.
But that goes to, like, running away from a problem never solves it, right? It'll never get you to the actual solution that you want. And the longer you prolong the problem, the longer you just stand in the same spot.
Look, I can tell you this. You hit it on the head. Because I do this work, Creed 3 came out, right?
Yeah.
And Jonathan Major said in an interview I was listening to, he said, people fight how they live. So I'm gonna tell you this. People's credit score, a lot of times, is a pretty good reflection of where they're at currently in life.
Like with their personal finances.
Yeah. Right? Like,
makes sense.
It's
like your adult GPA.
Yeah. If you're trying not to look at it and like not face it, it's probably like a couple other things in your life you ain't facing, bro. Right? There's some things you're trying to escape from. You're trying to hide. If I close my eyes, you can't see me. It don't make no sense, but you're still doing it. Because at the end of the day, it's already there, right? The blood work don't change, right? The credit score don't change just because you're not looking at it. Right? But for some people, it makes it real. And they can live the matrix. They can live a fantasy. So let me take you from there. But also, here's a question: how are you getting your funding? I got all these people starting businesses, and you haven't even thought about how you're getting your funding. Like,
shit, just off the muscle. I'm taking money from my job and funding my business.
But then eventually, then what? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I need a plan, right? You gotta,
Eventually you gonna run out of capital.
right. Right. You get the what is it? You got some money from your refund check. You got some other money that you pulled out from a 401k. You got whatever came your way, right? You maybe you saved up some money, maybe you sold a house, whatever it is. But then eventually, how are you getting your funding going? How are you getting it started? Are you going to go ahead and start talking about business funding? Are you doing it? Are you working with a loan broker? Or are you working with somebody like You Leverage Capital, right? Where we can help get you right finance and tag you with the right people. And we can do that very easily and give you a free financial assessment to make sure you're all set. So like things like that, I'm like, this is why people get caught up, because now instead you use your personal credit, you run it up, you use all your cash, you run it up, and then you come to me and go, I have no money, I have no credit, I have no collateral.
You skip the steps. You played the game the wrong way. You
Yeah.
went ahead and you jumped the gun, spent all your cash, spent all your credit, ruined your credit, and now you got to rebuild, right? But it's that is the beauty of it, Malik, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is even though they're in that situation, it's not the end of the road, right? It's not the end of the world.
It's not, but I want to make sure that, right, one of the things about being an entrepreneur is that you have to be resourceful, right? If you're going to be anything in being an entrepreneur, you better be resourceful. That means, right, if there's an ability, like we have a program with credit, our credit hybrid program, where we can get you funded, and maybe your credit score isn't where it needs to be, isn't over a 680, but you might have an uncle, you might have grandma, you might have a spouse, and then you can use their credit report to help you get funded. And that funding, you can go ahead and be able to go get you started and making a return on your investment, and using
Mm,
that capital to pay down the debt that you have on your personal side, or
that's a
being able
gem.
to being able to use that credit to do a bridge loan to move your debt from your side to the business side. So now your utilization's down, but you still got paid off.
And with that, this is a hack that you taught us last time we were speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way they're doing this is through becoming an authorized user on these people's credit. They got extended credit history. They got limits that are lower than yours. This person's credit's in good shape. It's in better shape than yours. They add you on, keep the credit card that they issue, and now it just bolsters your credit to help you get financing for those things, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes, when you utilizing that, that's a quick hack to get your credit out, right? But specifically with the credit line, with the credit hybrid program, we could, David, I could use your credit to go
My
apply for
personal credit.
some business funding. And this is what we talked about. And I could get a bridge loan, right? Which is a short-term loan. Let's say it's 20,000. I can take that, buy the 20,000 of credit card debt I have, bring it to the LLC now.
Mm,
Now it's not reporting on my personal side. My debt to income goes down. I pay it back, but I can pay it back over time. Now I have the credit profile to go buy that truck, to go buy that equipment, to go get that multifamily, and it's bringing me in $900, $1,200 a month. I'm paying the debt off, but I'm able to go ahead and utilize my credit to go get into these loans. So that brings us to step number two,
that's
right?
gems. Y'all don't sleep for this, man. This man Malik kicking game for y'all, man. Step number two, man. If y'all getting some value out of this, drop a comment in the chat. Make sure that you like the video so that we can continue to get the message out there to people. Step number one is kicking a lot of game, and we're about to get into step number two.
Yes, step number one, we created that plan. Now we move into what's the best loan product for me, right? What product do is best for you? Now we started getting into it. It's the 3 C's, right? These funding places, these financial institutions are funding on the 3 C's. That's cash, credit, and collateral. Okay, so when we're talking about cash, right? We're talking about cash flow. Not to now, mind you, having some cash in the bank is good, because what you don't want your is happening is that when they want 6 months or however long, right, say 3 to 6 months of your bank statements, you don't want to have no money where you're going into a negative. That's not going to look good. But they're going to see that, like, you know what? Hey, you're grossing $10,000, $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month. That's a good look, right? We got somebody, he was grossing about $25,000 a month recently. Got him funded for $67,000.
Man. And that's revolving credit too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, think about what that does to free up you operationally in your business.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little less than 3x my monthly revenue. That's payroll for an off month. That's because, as we talked about, it's ebbs and flows in business.
Mm-hmm.
That there keeps you afloat whenever that equipment breakdown happens, because we know it's gonna happen. And instead of playing that zero-sum game where I make money and I spend it to fix the thing, and then I gotta make the money back again, like you just mentioned. Instead of doing it that way, I put it on the credit and then I just pay it back over time. Like even with that bridge loan, that's like a super big hack. And I don't want to just sleep on that. That's a big brain hack, because you take your credit and you move it over to your EIN. And then what it's going to do in turn is help your EIN qualify for better credit, because now your personal side, you look better on the personal guarantee. So it's like a big hack, because once that 20 on your EIN and you're personally guaranteeing, that's no longer affecting your eligibility to qualify for certain products, right?
Your personal score has shot up now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your utilization's at 64%, and now it's at 14%. Utilization probably done shot up 50, 75, 100 points. Right? So that's 620 you was talking about, right? That's 650 you was talking about is now 720.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Huge difference in what you qualify for. You went from the fair bucket to the good bucket.
Right. And growing, right? So now the thing about it is, now we have doors. My thing is multiple doors. Now, some people with the problem is that, right? So let's say in two is that, so we have the cash flow lending, right? Based on just having cash flow, that revenue lending, right? Merchant cash advance if needed, that type of stuff. And we can game plan that. Then you got the credit, right? How's just like we said, is your personal credit good? Well, where's it at? Have you even started building your business credit? Do you know what it is? I had a lady I talked to this week who told me she never knew what a Duns and Bradstreet was.
Wow. How long has she been in business?
For a year.
Wow. So the whole time she may have been doing things to build business credit and didn't even know that she had no number to report it to.
It had nothing, and was just like, okay. Like, it was a lot for her to take in, and I gave her some documents. She's looking them over, and that's where it comes back to, like, what you leverage, what we do different is that we educate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can tell you how many people, like, I talk to that it's not a matter of if you work with us, it's a win, because we educate you, and then you start to understand that, like, yo, we got to work with them, because you see what we're doing here, because we're super transparent. Because in the next part is, right, now we got the credit, and it's a collateral, right? You're talking like 401k, equipments, or even like equipment vehicles, commercial real estate, right? IRA, like things of that nature, right? It's going to be your collateral. Now, a lot of people use that on their personal side, right? To go ahead and be like, hey, I got some stuff here, some funding, because we can do that too, right? So those are some of the products, right? And you're asking them, which one of these are best for me, right? When you're thinking about, like, in terms of like what products you can use. So then that leads us to number 3, right? Selecting the right one, right? Now that you know, and you know which one, the 3 C's, which C's for me, and then which lending product is going to help me, right? And then what you want to know about that is, how much funding do you want, and what industry are you in? And here's my thing: everybody wants to tell me they want $52,000 to $150,000 in the line of credit, right?
That's the 100K line of credit. This will sound sexy, Malik. That's what I want, and I want it in 90 days.
And they want it in 90. Now, mind you, if you got the goods, we can get you. You can get you that in 30 days, right? I can get you that in the weekend, right? But you gotta have the right stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't come with the right tools, right? I can't do nothing with it. not nothing, but it's gonna take a minute because now we got to create.
We got to
People
build it up
coming,
before we can go out there and start
yeah,
getting that investment.
you coming with a bag and be a bag empty, and that's okay, right? But if you want me to make $1.15, then it's gonna take me 4 to 6 months. That's the reality. But we can get there though, right?
And in the grand scheme of things, still 4 to 6 months is not a long time.
Mm-hmm. But when I think about your industry, right? Like some people are in the cannabis industry, and my cousin, he does a lot with shoes. He goes a lot of these shoe the shoe like conventions, and a lot of cannabis spots be there. So I'm talking to people and they're like, "Yo, can we get funded?" I said, "Of course you can get funded. You just can't go to a traditional bank. You gotta go to alternate funding sources that mess only with cannabis because that's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with them is that they're going to like Bank of America trying to get funding.
Yeah, Bank of America, it's too much regulations dealing with that type of stuff because
Right.
you're still dealing with a federally illegal substance at the
Yeah,
end of the
they
day.
ain't touching it. But you gotta get creative. I told you be resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Restaurants, right? Restaurant business is like people take L's, big L's, right? So, but there's banks that primarily work with restaurants, right? And then startups. I get a lot of startup people like, man, I try to get a line of credit, I can get no funding. Well, first off, look, you haven't been in business for 2 years, so I don't know why you're going for a line of credit, right? And to be honest, now there's some alternative funding sources that we have that I can get you going with, right? Sometimes they're B2B, but we can get you some lines of credit, but there's only certain banks that do that. So we have to work with those banks.
So that's seems like one of the big keys right here, finding the right lender.
Correct. Right. And then how much you want is like, look, you actually, let's break it down. Let's talk about what you want. You actually only need probably like $15,000 to $20,000 in the line of credit. We can get you some retail and store cards, right? Like, what can't you buy from Amazon, right?
Shit.
What can't you listen? We can get you about it, and it's like knowing the stuff, right? Like I already know Amazon's a net 55 off rip, and they love giving good limits when you're credible, and your bank is and your business is bank compliant. They love giving you big limits. So it ain't nothing to get you 25, 30, $50,000 within like 2-3 months with them.
And Amazon, as you mentioned, you can buy a lot of stuff off Amazon for your business. Chances are you're already using Amazon for your business.
Yeah, he's using your account.
That's a fact.
Right.
Just running it off your personal Prime. The whole time you could be using that to start building your business credit profile. So I guess I do want to ask that because there's something. So with Amazon, right? Are they one of the ones that report to Duns and Bradstreet?
Yes. So they do, right? But you gotta make sure that you have enough on there. But yes, they're Duns and Bradstreet and Experian.
Awesome.
Right. So they're on a list that we work with. But here's what I want you thinking about is that if you get $40,000 with them, and now you got right another like you got a $10,000 to $15,000 fleet card or something. You have a credit card, and then you have a line of credit. You might have $100,000 right there. But what we did was we gave you a good credit mix.
It all didn't come in just one thing.
Correct.
I got you $25K on this revolving line. This is a installment loan over here. No merchant cash advances though, because we don't do them.
No, unless we have a good play. That's my biggest thing. Is like if you have a play that makes sense, and you need the money right now, right? Like you like, look, I need it in 72 hours, but it has to make sense.
Like I'm flipping a house and I can't get a bridge loan type sense.
No, I hope not. I hope not that because like, just. But I mean, like, if you have an ability to get into something and that return's gonna come back to you in like less than 4 weeks, that's my thing. I like it less if it's less than 4 weeks, then let's do it.
A quick flip, not a more like a swing trade, not really a long term.
With the bridge loan, if it's happened within 6 to 12 months, yes, right, because then when you right, like it keeps getting smaller. But with that, it's like we can do that. Oh, we can do that.
Mhm. Mhm. So Malik, can I get a quick recap for my brother? We on 3 of the 5 secrets that people don't know whenever it comes to lending, right? Whenever people applying to these loans, they out here, they don't know this information and they go and they getting denied. They coming back confused. They coming to you, Malik, and they like, Malik, man, these people, they keep telling me I can't get no funding, man. What's going on? Why can't I get this funding?
I feel you. So first, number one, we got to create the plan, right? We're gonna plan to succeed, not plan to fail, right? And then with that plan, we're gonna ask the right questions about how we're getting funded, right? We're looking really at, what's our business's strengths, right? What are business weaknesses, opportunities, threats within our industry? Looking at us, right? What's our personal credit score? Do we even have business credit? Do we know how to get business credit? Who do I go to for funding? Then 2, right? What's the best product for us to go, right? How, like cash, credit, collateral. Which one am I strong in? Which one am I going to utilize? Right? And if I don't have all 3, then which one can I go? Which is going to be credit? Is going to be the easiest one for me to be able to grow within 4 to 6 months. And then now getting to the third one, selecting the right loan product. So then specifically for my industry and for the amount that I need. And that leads us right into 4, which is bank credibility, right? Being credible with the banks, making sure your business is credible. And that leads us to, right, my 7 laws of business credibility.
Okay, all right. 1 second. You got 7 laws of business credibility. Y'all, I need y'all to check in. Make sure, I want to see if y'all awake, man. Make sure y'all show some love. Smash that like button. So it's 7 laws right here that we about to share. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, everybody, like, I want to make it simple, right? Like we can get deeper with it, but at the end of the day, it's this. Number 1, make sure you have EIN. Number 2, make sure you understand what entity your business is. I'm gonna tell you this is the only thing I'm really gonna give you on this, right? Which is, if you have a general partnership or a sole proprietor, just stop. Change
You
it.
are not legally protected.
You're not protected, because guess what? When you woke up at 5 years old, you were a sole proprietor, right? You have a social security number, you're a sole proprietor, hands down, right? So I just want to be like, but it's not a legal entity that's going to your point, right, help you tax wise. It's not going to help you from legally. It's not going to be something, right, that you're able to use as a real entity, right? You got to think as outside of yourself. So proud is just you. So I want you thinking about that. So now let's go number 3, right? That our business address. Number 4, business phone number. Number 5, business website. Number 6, business email. And number 7, a business bank account. Let's keep it simple. Sometimes I think I get caught trying to explain to y'all a million things, but sometimes when I'm talking, I've done over 522 consultations since September. So I can tell you this.
Put the work in.
I can tell you. Just do those 7, please. We can work around it, but make sure you have them for your business. So like that address, just try for it not to be your home address. And then when you tell me you got a virtual address, but you pay $10 for it, you're lying. You have an iPostal address. You have a PO box. You have a fancy PO box. There's a PO box. It don't work. If it ain't over like at least $30, and $30 is usually at like one of those
Regis.
Regis usually at least $50 to $60, right? But
I've seen a lot of local ones. I've started to see like a lot of local co-working spaces do it for like that 25 to $40 range.
But it's never 10. No one does 10. I'm telling you. Besides PO boxes, they do $10. So just try that before you start your business, right? Don't put that in the Secretary of State so you gotta go back and pay to change it, and then now you mad at me because you gotta change it. We're trying to help you get the maximum, not the minimum, right? When you're really tapping in with that business phone number, right?
Bro, this man giving y'all hot gems right now, man. I'm getting frustrated because I just see the level of gems you're giving, because like you're giving them the insights on what's getting people stopping from getting funded right now.
Yeah.
That address thing is a major one. I know another thing before moving from that you mentioned, because you just kind of touched on it with making sure that the address that you have on your Secretary of State matches the address that's on your bank account. And like he's just like you said, making sure that you get that virtual address beforehand, make that investment. That's so important, bro. It's so important.
Send
How
me
many
over one
people you
statistic.
see getting denied just because they're still using their home address and they never even realized, like, they got a virtual address, they just never realized they didn't update it on their LLC paperwork.
Because I'll tell you this, right? Because for me, it's two things. One, if you got a trucking business and you're using your home address, that's a bad look. And you might not even get your operating, right? Because we've been a lot of trucking companies. You might not get your authority because you need an actual address, right? So that's one. Two, y'all want to make sure that, like, y'all, some of y'all want numbers, right? Over 50% of loans are denied because banks think there's fraud. And that fraud, David, being what you said, what you put down on your Secretary of State does not match. That address doesn't match, right? The information doesn't match. Say it's not, you get denied a lot of times because of fraud. I've had people with the wrong NAICS code, with the wrong address on their bank account that's different than the one they have on the Secretary of State, and that's why they were denied. They come to me, they go, I was denied, I filed the program. I said, let me look at your paperwork. You have two different addresses. And I get things change, but here's my thing, right? You have to change with it.
Like our earlier conversation, as time evolves, we got to evolve along with it.
We got to evolve along with it. So when you're looking at that business phone number, I know, and here's my thing, you might not, some of it's not even the fact that you'll just automatically get denied. You just get like a low limit, right? They'll hit you with $2,500, right? That's what they want to get to a mom and pops where you could have got 15,000, right? But not following the steps.
You make a whole lot more motion with 15K than you can with 2,500.
And here's another thing is that with that EIN, I know I didn't really stress on that, but getting that employer identification number is that there's stuff that I would teach you, right? When you in the program with us that you're going to apply to, it's going to say, put your social security number in, and I'm going to have you put your EIN in, and you're never going to put your social security number down because we're only building it for the business, and you'll get approved.
And that's that funding again that goes back to like what we was talking about earlier in the live, where it's like, this is not reporting to your personal no more.
Yeah. That's when we had the no doc, no guarantee, right? That's the type of funding we start working with.
That's that true business credit that people often talk about. Yeah. Whereas like if the business went under, that you personally wouldn't be held liable.
Yes. Could we call it business, but at the end of the day, when the owner is fully removed with their own from their cash, credit, and collateral, when that is fully removed, you now have corporate credit. So that's why, right? You're not liable for that.
That business in itself is truly its own standalone entity, its own person. It doesn't need, it's no longer a baby, right? It's no longer latching on to the parents' social security number. It can walk, it can talk, it can run shit. It play ball better than you at this point, and now you're getting funded.
Yes. So then we get into the business phone number. Make sure you get a phone number. I really approve of like the 1-800-1888 numbers. But there's also, right, some of these other places have business lines. I get it, right? I'm not gonna stress it, but when you go to expand, right, having a Ring Central or having something that has a voice over IP allows you to record conversations, allows you to call from your laptop, allows you to be able to do that with multiple employees, right? Who might be, right, that admin you get, that virtual assistant you have, right? Things like that, so that you can keep an eye on what's going on because those things are being recorded. So just something to think about. Now we're getting into website, right? Now that website and that email, I'm big on GoDaddy. You can get a nice little bundle over there, but make sure they match. right? So if I have you leverage capital, you're gonna get right, and I like contact info, maybe even your first name at you leverage capital. So I'm big in the beginning, start off something generic, info at you leverage capital. Then you might add something, Malik at you leverage capital, David at Black Wealth Renaissance, right? And then you have that name you put after the at be the name on your website, right?
And again, another small investment in the grand scheme of things.
Mhm.
Small investment whenever you think about, whenever we talk about the difference between getting $2,500 and $5,000 in funding and $20,000 in funding, that little $15 a month, $20 a month here, probably $150 a month total that you're gonna have to spend while you building is gonna be so worth it, because it's gonna open up so many doors for your business.
Yes, yes.
And Malik, I did want to address our brother or sister Shrugs, 2 G's in the comments here.
Okay,
They had a question that I thought was a pretty good one. With your business address, do lenders look at the area of the business address to determine how much they will be lending? So like if you're in a high income area, it listed as your business address, would that potentially increase your ability to get additional funding?
I would say all people have implicit bias, and that what they're doing is that a lot of these people that are running this our stuff are like our age. Now, the people who give the approval a lot of times a little older,
Mm-hmm.
but the people who are running it, right, that underwriter, a lot of times they know how to work that Google, right, and they're looking to see like, is this a commercial place or is it a residential spot? Right. So I can tell you, I know my cousin, she helps run a bank over in Massachusetts called People's Bank, and we run it. So I say yes, but I don't have the science behind it. But I would say that they're looking, and people are looking, they're making a judgment call. Because I think, like, right, give an example is that people like I fund a lot of people out of Bridgeport, and I'll get people and I see their address, and I'm like, and I could tell, right, I'm biased off of the fact that I know they're in Unit A. Right, that 123
That's
Main
showing like
Street,
they're in an
Unit A.
apartment.
I'm biased already. Now I can say I'm not, but I am.
Because again, going back to the earlier piece of the conversation, that's a small investment to make in your business. So how serious, and I think that bias is almost warranted in a sense, right? Because how serious are you taking what you're doing?
Yeah, 100%. And look, I get it. It's gonna cost some money, right? It might cost you $50 a month, but what I'm gonna say is again is that if you create the plan, then you plan for this, right? And this is how we plan not to fail, and this is how we get maximums, not minimums.
We want the max, baby. We
That's
trying
it.
to max contract this thing.
That's it. Because if you pay $500 for the year, right, $600 for the year, but you know what, you go through a year, you get to do 2 funding rounds, you got $60,000 of available credit to go ahead and leverage. Mind you, could you have a real business? This is something that you're writing off. I get in the beginning, it's not that. But if you planned and you understand you need a little bit of money set aside, then you're going to put this into your operational budget. And then, so then that then takes us right to the idea, lastly, of getting a business bank account. Right? There were people who missed out on that PPP loan because they didn't have business bank account before March of 2020. You had a business, but they had a Cash App business. They had a business, they had personal account. They didn't have a real business. So
It wouldn't link to your EIN. That was on your SSN.
You feel me? So it just goes back and forth of having that, because some lenders don't consider you a business until right, not when you start with the Secretary of State, but when you actually get that business account. Because you can say something like, I've been in business for 2 years. All right, great. Can I see 2 years of tax returns?
If
Can I
you
see
ain't
2 years?
transacting, you ain't in business.
You ain't in business. So you trying to tell me I've been in business for 6 months? That is correct. Even though you started in 2021.
You just started your bank account. That's a big gem though, because like again, we talking about getting financing, getting this money so that you can grow and scale. This is stuff that these people are looking at and getting denied on. So Shrugs, I know you mentioned that you had a sole proprietor starting out. Get an EIN, get a new bank account with that EIN, with your EIN number, actual business bank account. That way it's not going to be a situation where you're going to be like the people Malik is talking about now, getting denied because your ducks weren't in a row.
Yeah. And I got that account I want y'all thinking about. It's called Mercury. I like them over there. Mercury, like especially for those people who are very tech savvy, like and want some assistance, Mercury's great. Mercury, right? Like my Bank of America, when I try to integrate my my Inuit, my QuickBooks, it costs me $15 a month. Mercury does it for free. Also, they provide you a lot of different things on that account. So it's been a really good. I've shifted some funds there and really just been like working that and like how I pay people out, what I'm doing, like a lot of ins and outs. But I still have my relationship with other banks. But I really like how much it breaks down your spending per month. There's a lot of things for you that that very tech savvy, and I know it's definitely some newer FinCon that came out probably like 3 or 4 years ago, or at least got
So
hot a couple years
yeah,
ago.
this is not a brick and mortar bank. This is strictly online.
Yeah, but I like how they've been moving, and like I said, this is something I wanted to just give out there to the people.
Mercury, I have to check them out.
And then because you know who put me on the young boy LaRussell.
Really?
Yep, he was working with him. So as soon as he had mentioned something, I was like, let me hop on that real quick just to see what's what. And it took me.
While you talking on banks, I'm just thinking about it. Like, it's good if you have multiple bank accounts. If you're a person like us, you listen to Malik or ourselves, you know about Profit First. Profit First, you have multiple bank accounts, like 6 or 7 of them for your business, right? With the recent crash of Silicon Valley Bank, Silver Bank, and there was another one. There's 3 major banks that crashed like in the past couple of weeks. It's super important to make sure that you diversifying where you keeping your funds in your business. So I like that you mentioned that you move some of your funds to Mercury, because that's a good play for any business owner. That's just good risk management. Having multiple accounts with different lenders, different financial institutions, because you never know when something funny going to happen, especially like in the economic season we're in. We starting to see banks do a whole lot of funny stuff, like Wells Fargo with the whole some people's deposits were missing on a Friday, like just all kind of loony stuff. So just make sure you protect yourself out there. Definitely look into Mercury Bank. I'm gonna look into it. That seemed like another good option, especially if you can do everything online. If you're in a multi-member business, if it's not just you, you're not the only person. Online is super convenient because a lot of times, unless you have it in your operating agreement that one individual has the ability to go open these things, you would need multiple of you there to open these accounts. But online, a lot of times, you don't have to go through that whole process.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And yeah, it's interesting. There's so much that you can do with that. And something else that, like, if you're worried from a funding standpoint, right? Here's a quick little hack, is that if your partner has, if you give your partner at the time less than, on their agreement, 20%, less than 20% of ownership, a lot of times they don't have to run that partner's credit. Let's say they have bad credit and you're trying to get a loan and you don't want to put the information in. If you technically are giving them less than 20%, then you don't have to utilize them inside of that.
That's dope. That's a gem.
I have an investment group and it's 7 of us, and we got 3 people who are struggling. And look, hey, all y'all got like 6% right now. But what we do is that, right, like that's for the funding, for funding wise, then we can go ahead and always make an amendment to that, right? And we got some other paperwork saying that we'll do X, Y, and Z, but they have some things they got to do, which is get their credit score over 680. Right. So now it makes it more of a incentive, right? Especially in partnerships, for somebody to get their credit up.
Making them more vested in the deal.
Yes.
That's dope. That's game right there. Because a lot of times like you'll step into partnerships, sometimes people may not be I think a lot of times people don't get that creative, right? You mentioned it a few times while we were speaking today. As an entrepreneur, you got to be resourceful. When it comes to things like that, that's part of being resourceful. Like, how do you make this deal work for all the parties involved? Because not only is that stipulation protecting you, it's also going to help the individual be in a better position at the end of the day.
This is why doing the operating agreement when you have a partnership and not like a blood oath, right, is important, right? I get it. My word is my bond, but like, look, my word is my bond, but I'm gonna verify that with this agreement, and we're gonna talk all the way through it. We're gonna sign it. We're gonna have, look, go to Legal Shield. They did our agreement, right? Nobody wanted to use their own lawyer. I was like, I got somebody, but it was just look, Legal Shield didn't cost $400, and we split it, and then it was all
You
set.
can get a real lawyer to look at it, get some feedback.
Yeah. So it's just like I said, digital. Look, I know what age we in now, man. People live different places and stuff, and we trying to make it happen. But let me give you this last one, right? Negotiate your rates and terms. I want to say it again, right? They're providing a service for us. We're doing them the favor. But the thing is that we had to make sure we come correct. When we come correct, right? You have leeway to negotiate rates and terms, right? Is this bank providing a UCC filing, which means they're letting other institutions know that they're lending to you? That's negotiable. You might not want that. Maybe you do want that. Maybe that's going to help you build business credit. Maybe that's not, right? You have that, like, you can talk about rates or paying down points or things that you want to talk about, right? You can talk about things being more competitive or, hey, look, matter of fact, I didn't show you this account. Can you increase that limit? We've gone back to banks, right? Hey, look, you denied them, but like we changed this. Can you know, give them another shot? Hey, you only gave them this much. Did you notice this? And they reviewed it. That's what they do. They review it and they come back and they say yes or no, but you miss 100% of shots you don't take, right? Nothing beats a failure but a try. So when you go in there, right, you gonna get everything you ask for, but if you don't ask for it, you ain't gonna get it.
That's a fact. Closed mouths do not get fed. And even if they say no, they probably gonna give you the answer on what you need to get a yes.
Mm-hmm. And then if you mess with me in 6 months, you're gonna go back anyways. Maybe 4.
And come back and double up. Mm-hmm. You went in looking for 25, left getting 50. And
look, we talked about before, right? Like, look, the Amex ×3. This is a simple play.
That was another one, man.
Right? Look, you go in, they give you 7,000. You thought you was going to get 15. All right, cool. You go, let 61 days go by. You reapply. You ask them for 21 ×3 of what they originally gave you. If it was 5,000, you're going 15. If it was 10,000, you're going 30. Boom, you get approved for 21,000.
Just upped your access to capital,
right?
Exponentially.
And just always understand that because you have higher limits doesn't mean you need higher spend. Unless you have a higher play, right? It comes with more leverage, comes with more knowledge, comes with you adapting and evolving your plan so you can be more successful.
That's good. Hey, and Cleve Varner, I seen you mentioned it. A couple people probably asked. Malik, they're asking about your info, my brother. Definitely just want to let y'all know he had dropped it earlier. Told y'all that if you want to, you can book an assessment with him. If you visit blackwealthrenaissance.com/leverage, it'll have you fill out a form, and that way you can go in and book an assessment for your business to see with your fundability and see what it will look like to work with Malik and you leverage capital.
Yeah, and I'm loving the partnership that we have, and look, and we got some things cooking. So like, just know we got some things in the books. But I want y'all thinking about it, right? Like, there's so many different ways that you can leverage, your life, right? Your life, your lifestyle, your business, right? Like I'm saying that right now. I'm staying here at the Marriott. I've been here for 3 days, right? That's business credit. And if you do it the right way, right, you're able to take the money you make in business to help you live the way you want to live, and be able to then do what you need to do to make even more money.
That's the goal. Leverage everything to create a lifestyle that you love.
That's it. That's
Man.
it. That like and this right, it's you always want to be leveraging, right? Then you got to look for the higher leverage, and then when you get to lay back a little bit, it's because you finally got into infinite leverage. Yeah, I know. I got something.
Bro, this brother always kicking some bars, man. It's always something that's gonna sit on your mind and make you think. Let that marinate like neck bone juice. But Malik, brother, man, always, bro. I definitely appreciate you hopping on with us tonight, man, giving the people value as always. Y'all, if you got the value out of these 5 secrets to apply for a loan, these are things that are stopping people from getting funded all the time. So I'll just quick recap. Number 1, you got to have that plan, right? You got to make sure that you got the plan together. Number 2, right? What are you coming with? What do you have? Is it capital? Is it credit? Is it collateral? What are you coming in with? Number 3, you got to find the right loan product. That's where Malik, you leverage capital. They can help you out tremendously. They have a team of dedicated advisors that help you build your profile and then will match you with the lenders that are best suited for you. I know you were mentioning in there how certain banks deal with certain businesses. This is the type of knowledge that you get on the inside. These are the things that are getting people denied when they're walking into Bank of America thinking they're going to get some funding for their business. And number 4, again, my brother.
Number 4 is that bank credibility.
Bank credibility. Are you out here looking fugazi to the bank? Are you out here got a mismatching address on a bank account that's using your social security number, and you out here telling people that this is your business account and you're applying for business credit? Because you don't look credible at the bank. And Big Jim Malik said in there again is I think this major, if you start a business and you ain't got a bank account, you're not in business. So start a bank account as soon as possible if you went by LLC. Because that's going to be, the younger your LLC is, the harder it is to get funding, right?
And the more mature it is, right? It's just because it shows you that you've been able to survive business. Just be honest. And then when you have all 3 of those C's, cash, credit, and collateral, then we can start talking about the holy grail of loans, which is SBA loans, right? But before you go to any bank, you need to start looking at those things and figuring out where your strengths are and who you need to go to.
And we're going to have to get into these SBA loans too, because I already know them things go crazy. But man, Malik, brother, can you please let the people know where they can follow you at, where they can tap in, if they want to work with you, how they can do that? And yeah, please do.
No, look, it's Malik Champlain, Leverage with Malik, right, on Instagram, and youleveragecapital.com, and tap in, download your 4-step guide to building business credit, and really tap in with our partnership with Black Wealth Renaissance. Let's get it. Look, we hit almost every Thursday, so let's get it. I'm down.
Yes, sir. Look, we'll be back next Thursday. Tell a friend to come back. We're going to come with some more value, kicking more game for y'all. And until next time, this is Black Wealth Renaissance, David with Black Wealth Renaissance, and my brother Malik Champlain of You Leverage Capital. And we signing out. Peace.